Hello and welcome back to my craft room. It's another scorcher of a day here in the UK, so this is going to be a relatively short and sweet video. I've made a start on the next volume of my Treasury of Stitcheries, where I'm creating fabric books to store all of my beautiful swap squares that I received in the first and second great big little Stitchery swaps. I sat out the third one, but I'm itching. I'm definitely up for joining in the third one, which will begin on the 1st of October. More about that later. There's plenty of time, and hopefully plenty of time before then to get my squares from the last two swaps all stitched into these books. And one of the lovely things about it is that as I create a page for each one of the squares, it's given me time and space to enjoy each of those squares all over again and have another look at all the gorgeous details and just be inspired by each one to create the page around it. I don't think I brought up with me my first, no, it's downstairs, the first book that I did. They were kind of basically plain calico pages, but I did lots of stitching inspired by each of the squares, different kind of stitching, colours and types of stitches and designs and things inspired by each of the squares. This time I'm doing it a bit differently. I've got a lot of beautiful pieces, scraps of fabric, and I want to incorporate some of them into this book and create something really colourful, but I still want to do lots of stitchery as well. I've been inspired by looking at Tori, so that's Cool Kooky Creatures book that she did with the dots. She'd been doing the dot a day thing, and yeah, she was creating this beautiful fabric book. I'll link to that video, and she in turn was inspired by Jerry Bellini, who gives a really good clear explanation of how to create a fabric book in this way. I'm kind of doing my own thing with it, and I won't be doing like a full tutorial. I'll just show a few little steps and ideas and things, hopefully offer some inspiration and ideas, and I will link to Jerry Bellini's video as well. So let me show you where I've got to. Quite enough waffle. So here we go. This is going to be part of the front page of my book. The finished size is going to be that square. So this was one of the squares we made, 10cm or 4-inch squares, and I absolutely love this one, which was made for me by Annie Cron. Now she's put here Wotnot Fever 2023 and on the back she's put for other Annie, because I call myself Other Annie because obviously she's Annie too. Baby Wotnot, Annie Claxton, Annie Cron 2023. Absolutely love that. It's very dimensional, as you can see. Now, funnily enough, I've been using my own Wotnot a lot this week. So if you don't know what Wotnot Fever is, maybe I'll try and remember to link to a video. But last year, obviously 2023, I created these little kits, all different colourways and things, to make your own little slow stitcher's companion. Just a combination of a needle holder, a pin cushion. It's got the threader attached. It's got a little ring here, a book ring, which you can open up to attach your pair of little scissors. So basically everything you need for your slow stitching is all enclosed. Some people then cleverly put a little pocket on the back to tuck this into, which is a really good idea. It just went crazy. I made up all these kits, wondered if anybody would want them, and they kind of went out overnight. And so people all over the world were creating their versions of Wotnots, and it was all very exciting. I was thrilled to bits. So it's lovely that as well as this square, as well as remembering the great big little Stitchery swaps, also reminds me of that, the year of the Wotnots. I don't think this wasn't fabrics from one of my kits, although she did have one. I think she maybe had 2 or 3 of my kits actually. Beautiful, and look at the lovely stitching. Really nice little bit of sparkle there, daisies, which I love. Lovely little charms, stitching related charms with a tiny miniature rickrack. I've never seen rickrack that small. And even the needle threader is unusual. I love cats. I don't know if Annie remembered me saying that, maybe. But the little needle threader is in the shape of a cat. How adorable! So I just tuck him in there. For each of my squares in this book, as well as the first book, I'm only going to attach them at the top, or sometimes it might possibly be the side, so that I can still lift up, because I had a real thing, and still do, about needing to see the messy backsides. And some people like Annie have written on the back as well. So because this is so dimensional, I obviously needed to give space for it, and I decided to feature it on the front cover. So this will end up being the inside cover, and this is the first inside page. I've just applied different fabrics and things and some different stitches in between to echo what Annie has done in the square. And some of these fabrics came from other people that I swapped with as well. I know that this fabric came from Paula in New Zealand and features a New Zealand plant, I believe. For each square, as in the previous book, I'm going to be embroidering the person's name as well. Now I've written that in heat erasable pen, and I haven't erased it yet, so it looks a bit messy. I must remember to do that. So the idea is, with this one, kind of started constructing the book in roughly the same way that Jerry shows, but I've gone my own way a little bit, and I certainly needed to go my own way with the cover to create this hole for the heart to pop out of. But I would, if you want to start making a fabric journal and you don't know where to start, I would highly recommend Jerry's tutorial. It's really, really helpful. So the idea is that this will become the inside of the outside cover. So eventually, when I've done all of the insides, I will create the cover. I have to wait until I've done the insides because I don't know how deep the spine will be. And at that point, this will be stitched onto the inside of the outside cover, which will also have the heart shape. When they're all put together, I'll kind of blanket stitch or something around the edge here, or buttonhole stitch here, so that when you close the book, you'll still see the peak of this heart coming through. And I don't have the first book here to show you, but actually that had hearts on the front as well, and they were hearts that were made by Pat in Australia. So I think I might carry the heart thing through, because so much of the swap, yes, it was about the fun of creating little squares of stitchery for someone and the fun of receiving them in the post, but it was, and really sharing our hobby with each other, but it was also about celebrating community and sharing that joy with each other. And I just think, I think a heart really symbolises that well, especially as, of course, it was also the shape of the Wotnot. I found some of these words that were from the selvage of some fabric, so I've put them here and there. I've got another one saved here, Look on the Bright Side, so I'll use that elsewhere in the book. As I say, if you want a proper explanation of how to put these books together, check out Jerry's video, but I'll sort of roughly explain how I'm planning to do this. So I've divided everything I've gone all through the squares I want to include in this book and sorted them into how I want them to appear, which ones I want opposite each other and things, because I need to think about that before I start stitching. Jerry makes signatures with several pages, and she includes paper as well as fabric to make her journal. It's fabulous. I would love to do one like that as well. Each of my signatures is just going to be one folded piece, but each one, of course, will have 4 squares on it and 2 layers of fabric. So I'm going to try and explain to you how I'm doing this. This is a bit different, this one, because I've left this raw to attach to the outside cover eventually. But with this one, I can show you better what I'm aiming at. So I want these to end up opposite each other, because they were both made by Paula. So this is Paula in New Zealand. This is that fabric I pointed out just now, which she's done all this amazing thread painting into. Can you see? There is so much texture and the sparkle in this. Absolutely love it. And I forgot what these birds are called now. She did tell me, but again, a native New Zealand bird. And she's done lots of thread painting here, which I really love. So I've attached this with a chain stitch just at the top. She sent me some of the fabric that this was cut from, as well as a piece of this. And so I've put that in the background. I've embroidered her name there. And I haven't thread painted the whole thing. I've just done some thread painting to add texture just to this corner. I haven't done a great job of it. I need to practice more. I need to watch Creating Craft with Christine is the best thread painter, and I need to watch some more of her thread painting videos and actually have a proper go. I think I've used too chunky a thread there. Christine was saying she quite often just uses machine thread, sewing thread, for thread painting. But yeah, I really like the bit of texture that adds, and it kind of echoes what Paula did in this square. So that's the kind of thing I mean when, you know, each page I'm going to create a page inspired by what's on the square. I added a bit of, again, Create and Craft for Christine taught me this. It's the German knotted blanket stitch, which I love because it looks like little people holding hands. And in fact, I might even go through and add beads onto the top of these to look like little heads, the heads of the people. How cute would that be? And it would be a lovely kind of beaded edging, which I think would be really fun and sort of echo what we've got here going on. So I wanted this one to appear opposite because Paula also made this one. She sent me two, and this is another New Zealand bird. It's a fantail something, I can't remember now. So that will be attached there. She also sent me some of this fabric, so I've cut out one of the birds and applied it on here. Then I thought, no, that's too plain. I think I want to echo more of what she's done here as well. Look at all the thread painting on this. How gorgeous is that? So I need to do some of that. She's blanket stitched then around the outside, which I can do here. And she's used, I think she had a Bazaar scrap pack or two, because I seem to remember we were joking about how the fabrics had gone from India over to Bazaar in the UK here, and they'd sent them out to her in New Zealand. And I love the colours she's used there. It's really nice. So it's, although it's a little brown bird, the whole square is so colourful. It looks harmonious, and yet it's still colourful. Yeah, I love that. So I have got a few scraps out of my Bazaar collection that I might use to pretty this up a bit. So I could add this somewhere. I've got a couple of little scraps. I might need to, although I have tacked that down, I might need to pick up the tacking so that I can slot these squares in behind. I have got this sheer purple, so this would echo the purple there. So I could even try just doing some sheer purple at the top, or maybe even do a square of the purple, do it like that. There's an idea. So I will have a play around with that. Yeah, actually I quite like that now I look at it on camera as well. It's quite cute, doesn't it? I picked out this bit as well, so this is one of the kind of things you get in the Bazaar scrap packs. So I could use a little bit of this, so it will just look like it's, you know, as Paula's done here, it's sort of in the garden, you know, create a little garden for it. So I'll have a play around with that later. I do like the idea of having just that sheer layer there, and then maybe do my thread painting over the top of it. Yeah, I haven't tried doing that before. That'd be quite fun. I could also, just to echo this, I could add some sequins or a couple of flat-backed gems or something to it, just to reflect what Paula's done there. I've done this straight stitching on here, and then I'll do another line of straight stitching in the purple, so I've used the green and purple threads in the purple just to attach this. But first of all I need to work on this part. So that's just, I'm not going to sit and do that now because it'll be too long, and I want to go and do that in the cool. I mean, you know, the other option would be just to stitch a little frame around here and keep this very simple, this one, and just have a, you know, have the odd plain one to offset the colours. I don't know, I'll have a little think later, and you'll see that next time I come back to show you my progress. So for each square I've decided where I want it to go in the whole of, I've gone through the whole of this book. I've got quite a pile here, hang on, that's my little basket of squares that will go in this book. But what I need to think about, because for each one I need to stitch it onto one layer of calico, because you don't want to see all the messy gubbins on the back. Not for this, I like the messy gubbins on the back of the squares, but not for these pages. So then for the other side of the signature I need a separate layer of calico, if that's making sense. So the way I want this one to read is, it will be this one, which will be opposite there. Then when I turn over it will be this one and this one, and I turn back and it's there. And then the next little signature bundle is here. So if this was a piece of paper, it would just be one single piece folded. But because it's fabric and I want to stitch on it without being able to see all the messy stitching on the back, it's in 2 layers. So it means I've got to lay it out like this, then take it apart, do my work on it, and then put it back together. So I'm going to work through one of these little signatures at a time. So I'll be working on these at the same time, but I need to remember that these pages don't need to coordinate because they're not going to be seen together at all. This one will be seen opposite that one. So yeah, I'll need to look at that, and I'll probably use that same green chain stitch to go across the top here, and perhaps more green in this one to kind of pull them together. But to me, they're together because Paula made them both. They've very much got Paula's style, and they've got New Zealand plants and birds, so they definitely go together. Just to give you a quick look at these next two. This was Nicole, I think. Yeah, this is Nicole in Canada. How gorgeous is that? So birds again. I will look at this, pick out coordinating fabrics. I love the seed stitching that Nicole has done there. Oops. I love that fluffy, I think is this turkey work, I think they call that. So I'd like to somehow bring in a bit of that. A little bit of thread painting there. She's included some beads here at the corners. Absolutely gorgeous. There's a lot of work in this. I like the spattering here. Like, it looks like, I can't remember now, did she say she'd dyed this fabric, or it's gorgeous. It's like a knit fabric. Really beautiful effects on it. I might even try creating a little piece of fabric to go on the back, to go underneath, or even paint it directly onto here using some paints and then stitch into that. That could be fun. So that's the kind of thing I mean. Each square will inspire the page that it's sitting on. This one was Sandy. Yep, this is Sandy. She's in California. Those are together because of the colours, mainly for me in this case. So here you've got some old lace. I've got lots of old lace. I will pull out some old lace. This looks like maybe coffee dyed fabric, and this lovely piece of old muslin. So yeah, and some beading. There's a lovely little paper bead in there, rolled paper bead, little metal charm. So all of these elements I will bring out, and I think there's lots of elements that are in common with these two, although they've been done by different people. Underneath, Sandy also sent me these. So this is like almost like Kawandi looking, isn't it? I'm kind of thinking with this, it's almost begging for more stitching, so I might even stitch into that some more. And she also sent me this lovely piece, all waiting to be embroidered. So these are almost like collaborative pieces. So what I might do is stitch this on and embroider into it using the colours that Sandy's used here, using very neutral colours, which is unusual for me. I do love the look of it. So yeah, that remains to be seen what I'll end up doing with that. The next page turning over, which will marry up with what will sit opposite this one, is this one from Sue Brown. So that's Magpie Sue in the States. Absolutely gorgeous. Look at these. I've got these on here in case just to make sure that I remember who did what, and then obviously I'll be embroidering their names on anyway, so I won't ever forget. But Sue's actually written her name and things there, and the date and everything, which is nice. I do love looking at the messy backsides. Look at this gorgeousness. Now I do have some pieces like this as well, which I think it was Christine Preston sent me, so I must dig them out because I could incorporate a couple of those in here. I've also got other pieces that people have sent me that came in with the swaps. I think that was Shirley Benson. This one's Mary Montalvo. This is Christine. This is Christine's Nana's gingham. Not gingham, rick-rack. It's a beautiful green that doesn't show up too well on camera. So some of that has got to go in there. Probably I will add that. I will go and I think I've already put Christine's square in the previous book. I think that needs to go on Christine's page. I think these were these Pat? She sent me lots of beautiful, this pouch has beautiful pieces in that she's done. Look at these. Whoops. How lovely are they? So I'd like to include those somewhere. Oh, look, here's one of those. I think this was from Christine. So yeah, this would be a good place to include one of these as well, just to bring that out into the page. So yeah, love that idea. Love that idea. I think these came from Heidi. I can't remember. I was sport rotten with so many beautiful things. It's hard to remember, but they will all get used. And then, and I think this is a perfect place to use them. This little pouch is so handy for keeping things like this in. And then just the other day, I got these from Helen in the States, and they're absolutely gorgeous. And I did think it would be the perfect place to use some of these little squares in this book. And again, it's just like celebrating those connections that we've all made with each other through this slow stitching malarkey. The thing that I'm going to do now is start working on the background square for this one. And I did think I might, because it's from Paula, and Paula's a brilliant artist as well as being a great stitcher, and she crochets, she teaches people, she's a brilliant artist. I love her art. She does these really whimsical pieces. I just love her artwork, and I'm very lucky to own a few little pieces as well. So I just thought, to kind of honour that, I might extend this out a little bit, just a little touch of using other supplies in here. So I've got some of my Inktense pencils. I didn't pull out loads and loads. I just 2 shades of, well, that's a browny yellow. It's called mustard. I'm not quite sure how that's going to come out. Can't remember. Madder brown, spring green. I think it's an olive green, is it? No, it's a light olive. So I'm just going to do a little bit of more of a branch and leaves here that I can embroider into. And if I activate them with water, they'll be permanent then. Let's have a go. The funny thing about Inktense is they look so dull to start with, but once you activate them, the colours really come out. I just want that to sort of fade away to the outside, really. Let's have one coming up behind as well. I don't mind if a little bit of it peeks out from behind, just to give a little hint at what's behind. That's what I've done through the other book as well. And if I was worried about this colour running, I would use, I've got some aloe vera gel which works quite well because it will moisten, it will activate the Inktense pencils, but it dries off very quickly and doesn't spread. It just sort of sits on the surface and dries without kind of spreading in like water does, so that I won't get any kind of, bleeding and things. But I don't think I'm going to worry about it too much for this because I'm going to be stitching all over it anyway. Too lazy to go and fill my water pot, so I'm just using my little spray ball. So what I'll probably do is just sort of stay just inside the lines, not go too far out in case it does spread a lot. Oh yeah, that's quite nice. You can see how much more vivid the colour is once you activate it. I could also help to blend everything together by bringing some of the colour into the fabric print as well. Yeah, so by the time I've added some stitching into this as well, I think that would be really nice. So yeah, let's say I wanted to just add a little more of this colour in here. That will help to just pull them together a little bit, I think. Yeah. Very tempted to just try putting a square, get the other stuff I was going to do, just put a square of that over, stitch it round to make it look like a frame, and then do my thread painting over that. Gives the whole thing a purplish background. Quite interesting. Need to have a little bit of a think about that. So I just want to add now some leaves. Yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. I will carry on some more leaves up and around there as well, and then I will stitch into them and decide what I'm going to do with the surrounding. So that's as much as I think I'm going to share of that at the moment. Then I thought I would just quickly show how this will go together. This is how I want my book to read, as it were. Like that. So what I'll do is I will work on both of these pages and both of these pages, and when I'm completely happy with them, I will put them together face to face, right side to right side, and stitch all the way around. And then clip the corners. Obviously I'll leave a gap for turning. Clip the corners, turn the whole thing right way out, and then I will end up with kind of what I've ended up with here. But this isn't a complete one because of the thing with the front page. So on this one I just put these two face to face, this one with this one, and turned it out and just left a bit extra here because this is where it'll eventually attach to that front cover. So yeah, so I can go right inside there, and yeah, you know, I ended up with a little bit left over here, but I just filled that with the blanket stitch, and I could do a bit more stitching down there if I wanted, you know, whatever. So that is the big plan at the moment. So yeah, it could easily get confusing. It definitely, you need to sort of think it through beforehand, and I can see that I've cut this piece bigger than that underneath piece, so before I go into these I'll make sure, I think I'll cut it down to fit this first, because I don't want to get my design just as I want it and then find I've got to cut too much off to make it fit this one. So yeah, I'll adjust that before I start stitching. I'll finish this, I'll decide what, if anything else, I'm going to do with the background. Now I'm looking at it like that, I'm kind of feeling like it looks a little bit like an illustration in a book or something. I might even just do a little indication of blue here. Forget about what I was going to do with the purple and things, because I just like the look of that. I can still pick up plenty of elements of Paula's piece in the thread painting. I can still add some sequins and things, and possibly even some little flowers and things that I might cut out of the bazaar scraps. Yeah, a bit of that yellow even. That would even work, wouldn't it? And that would reflect the twinkle that she's put on both of hers. So yeah, that just needs a little bit of playing around with. But so basically that's where I'm heading with it. I love this whole process of these. I think because each square is an inspiration in itself. You know, I'm not going to run short of ideas for the different pages as I work through this book. And I'm glad I'm now bringing in fabrics as well, because I've got so many beautiful fabrics to use. I might as well make use of them. And it's nice to be able to include some of the little snippets and things that people sent me with the squares as well. Let's put that there for my thumbnail, shouldn't I? So yeah, that's where I'm going with my volume 2 of my Treasury of stitches. let me know what you're doing with, what did you decide to do with all the squares that you got. I know there were lots of different ideas going around. Some people were going to frame some. I'll make a kind of quilt panel. I know a few other people were making books up. Yeah, there's so many different ways you could put them together. I have a slightly different spin on the idea for Stitchery swap number 4. I think it's time for a little bit of a change, but people can always stick to the same format if they want to anyway. But anyway, more about that later. We've got plenty of time before we need to start thinking about that. Thanks very much for joining me today, and I'll see you again really soon. Bye.